Hello everybody and welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000.
Oh, nearly.
£50,000. My name's Suj.
My name is James.
It's Sky Fantasy Football, back at it this week. No price rises or any of that stuff to worry about, but all good.
I think I've thought about Sky over the last week less than I have probably for about a year, including the summer holidays. I think during the Euros, I was like, it'd be good for Sky. I'm giving it no thought whatsoever over the last week.
So all of this stuff from the international break with players banging in goals, has that affected your transfers decisions in any way, shape or form?
Because Harold of Kane is already there, isn't he? So, yeah.
Well, Antonio's 30-yard screamer. Did you see that goal?
Yeah. Have you seen the guy who tried to smash the rebound in and fell over afterwards as well?
Yeah. That was the greatest. That was the greatest ridiculousness of football ever. But, yeah, good goal for him. So, obviously, we've got to keep him, haven't we? Antonio.
No, he's going on Sunday, mate.
Oh, he's off. Is he after Wolves away? So, in today's episode of Fantasy SkyFF, we are going through some tier points. I say we very loosely. It's a very loose use of the word we. But we will be discussing them and where teams have been doing particularly well statistically that might help people making some decisions. It's quite an important and weird part of the SkyFF season now, between now and overhaul. It's one of those ones where people are like, can I use my transfers? And people who use their transfers in this kind of window, if you divide the seasons up into quarters or thirds or sixths or whatever, can do really well. Like I know last year you were not scared to use transfers in this time period because there was a lot of gains. And
I had a crazy good December last year. I was in the top 100 for December last year.
And that's down to...
Not expecting that this year, by the way.
Not having any fear about jumping on and making moves on the right players. So, really good. So definitely keeping an eye on some of the stats and tier points and players to look out for is going to be really important. I mean, I'm going into this week with a flag on Ward-Prowse, a very serious flag on Sanchez in goal, and players in my squad that I don't want in Hwang, Saint-Maximin, Havertz.
Have you come closer to deciding what you're doing with these players?
Yeah, I'm wildcarding. Oh, we don't get a wild card in this game, do we?
What's the plan?
There isn't one yet.
Sanchez stays.
I'm definitely going to get Kane, I think, on the Sunday.
How are you doing it?
Let's wait and see what happens with Andrew Robertson. Because if Andrew Robertson gets injured and Tsimikas is an option for a few weeks, then that's particularly interesting.
Yeah, but what you have to be careful with that. Tsimikas 6.6, and I get you. Like if it comes out Robertson 2 months hamstring, boom, we'll go and buy it, right?
Yep.
But if it's Robertson's out for 2-3 weeks,
then it's not going to be worth it.
No, it's not, mate.
But if there's a way of daisy chaining Tsimikas for then Webster.
Well, yes, Webster, if you're going to daisy it and only have Tsimikas as part of it for a couple of weeks.
Eventually, I want to get to Webster. Webster's my goal at the back as my fourth defender. So I think that's definitely on the cards. That's what I'm looking at the moment. Smith Rowe as a way of finding a bit more money as well. But I do have money in the bank, James. I've got 3.3 million.
So you're going Antonio to Kane, yeah?
To be confirmed. To be confirmed. I'm waiting for you to tell me all about the different stats for different teams.
I just wanted to run through a few things in terms of teams rather than specific players. A lot of the player stuff you can just access quite easily on the official game app, or obviously we recommend Frank's FF stuff. So.
Yeah, FF stuff's obviously the one to go to.
So I just wanted to highlight some stuff about teams specifically around certain tiers. Passing tiers, Suj. Which team do you think has had the highest number of passing tiers so far this season?
Passing tiers, that's got to be Man City.
Well, of course. City on 39, Liverpool 35, Chelsea 30. Now, the reason I highlight this is because of the drop-off. You know which team's had the fourth most?
Brighton?
It is, yeah. Brighton, 18 passing tiers. Manchester United on 14.
I'm interested to see how many of those passing tiers are defenders. I'd guess the majority are defenders.
Yeah, although Lallana, Basuma pick up a little bit in the midfield area, but obviously Dunk is fantastic, isn't he, from a passing tier perspective. Arsenal and West Ham only 6 each, respectively. Tottenham 14, Leicester 12.
both Arsenal and West Ham are very happy to let the opposition have the ball.
Arsenal has spoken about game state.
Yeah,
so
and as soon as they
times.
win, as soon as they take a lead, Arsenal, that's it. They'll let you do what you like and keep you at arm's bay.
Tottenham 14, Leicester 12. As I said, there's two other teams got double figures for passing tiers. Any guesses?
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, Palace 12.
I feel like Palace because we've talked about them a few times, and I'm gonna say Brentford.
Nah, dirty leads still.
Okay.
With 11. And of course, anybody above 11, their team's obviously averaging more than one a week. Now, in the case of Manchester City on 39, they're averaging 3.5 players per game week, basically, are going to hit a passing tier. Now, we've had extremes with City, such as, at Old Trafford the other week, there were 7 Manchester City players who hit passing tier.
In one game.
Old Trafford, which is extreme.
That's
when
mad.
There's no red cards or any, and especially against.
So one of the players is a
giants
goalkeeper. So you're talking about only 3 outfield players didn't get a passing tier.
Basically,
That's mad.
Yeah.
And strikers never get passing tiers.
Jesus.
Yeah, strikers don't get passing tiers. So
Foden and one other. I'm pretty sure Bernardo Silva did actually at Old Trafford. Who was the other one who missed out? Jesus, not Bernardo Silva because he did 65. Foden. Forget it. Doesn't fucking matter anyway. The City point for me actually is really interesting. I've got Laporte. Is he going to get his place back from Stones? I could literally just flip that.
Yep.
Laporte to Stones the weekend. I'm buying Cancelo for Antonio, by the way. Yep, better late than never. There are 2 teams, Suj, whose players have not hit a passing tier yet all season.
Ooh.
Bit of trivia for you.
Norwich?
No.
Newcastle?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to work bottom up. So Newcastle and Burnley?
No. There is one Burnley player who's hit a passing tier this season.
Only one? All season?
Only one.
Wow.
That was Ashley Westwood, 61 passes against Norwich.
Then it can only be Wolves. Sorry, not Wolves, Watford.
It's Everton.
No passing tiers?
Not a single one.
No money and no passing tiers?
Nothing.
Wow.
No money. It's a reference to yesterday's podcast that we did on their financials, basically. You've lost your headphones there, mate. Yeah, none for Everton. And what's really interesting, I guess you can probably guess what comes the other way from that, right? 20 players have hit passing tiers against Everton this season. 27 against Newcastle. That's the 2 highest for a bit of perspective on that. 19 passing tiers against Watford, 18 against Norwich. Now, of course, in the case of Newcastle, their situation may change a little bit in the coming weeks. New manager. Similar applies to Norwich, obviously Aston Villa, and to a certain extent, we can include Tottenham in terms of managerial changes as well. But I thought that was particularly interesting. Can you guess, and this is tough, the 2 teams that have only had 1 player get a passing tier against them this season, Suj?
Against them?
One I dropped into last week's podcast, was talking about it.
Chelsea?
No.
Leeds?
Yeah, Joel Matip, that red card game.
Okay.
You won't get the other one.
Brentford?
It's Tottenham.
Okay.
And I can't even begin to explain it.
Okay.
Particularly as well, because one of the things, when you start breaking down statistics like this, you have to consider in fixtures, right? Tottenham have played at home to Man City, home to Chelsea, home to Man United. So these are the sort of games, not so much Man United, obviously, but certainly the other 2 you'd expect passing tiers. No players hit a passing tier against Tottenham since you should be in prison, and you are, Benjamin Mendy in game week 1.
Wow.
I can't explain that to you.
Wow. And of all the players at Man City to pick up a passing tier, Ben Mendy.
Well, City picked a strange team that day, didn't they? They had a few players absent and stuff, which is forgivable.
Yeah.
But Tottenham on that particular day shut down passing lines between the defence and midfield. It meant that the ball ended up with Mendy and Aki quite a lot in that particular game. So those are just some things I wanted to highlight on passing tiers. What, of course, interesting in that particular stat is Tottenham and Leeds play each other this weekend. So if you're expecting passing tiers, probably don't.
No.
Is the answer to that, actually. Leeds, I think, on 11 passing tiers completed this season is lower than we would expect, actually. Move on to some... He's lost his fucking graph now. Some save tiers for you. Which team do you think has had the most save tiers from goalkeepers this season? Bearing in mind, most have played the same goalkeeper all
I'd
season.
say Emi Martinez, because he always seems to be a save tier magnet.
There were 2 teams who picked up save tiers in 9 of the 11 games, and it's the same goalkeeper for all of them. It's Tim Krul of Norwich, which
You'd expect that. Yep.
The one that will probably be surprising to people is Kasper Schmeichel of Leicester.
Wow.
Save tier in 9 of 11 games.
Defensive issues with their centre-backs, right? So,
yes.
At the start of the season, anyway.
But I think it highlights the fact that there's some problems with them, definitely. It's worth saying he's only hit tier 2 for saves in one of them. Ederson, 1 save tier so far this season, which makes it very tough to, despite the security of his minutes, recommend making him a better choice than Alisson or, of course, Edward Mendy, who is so highly owned at the moment. Liverpool have forced other teams' goalkeepers into save tiers 9 times. The other team that has done that, Suj, is West Ham United. What's really interesting about West Ham, and for those thinking of selling Antonio, as I am, the only 2 times West Ham haven't forced a goalkeeper into save tier points this season is a 2-2 draw against Palace.
Okay.
You scored twice.
Yep.
And the 3-2 win against Liverpool, you scored 3 times. So West Ham are obviously regularly hitting the target with their shots, etc.
Yeah, I think the issue with West Ham is obviously that the shots are spread amongst 4 or 5 players. Bowen likes a shot. Benrahma likes a shot. Antonio likes a shot. Fornals likes a shot. So it's not concentrated on one particular player.
Shot tiers. So you've got a clue there now. Which team's top for most for their players hitting shot tiers this season?
West Ham.
No, obviously not. It's Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah.
With Mo Salah. But West Ham are joint second, Liverpool 15, joint second on 13 with Manchester City and Chelsea. Watford, bizarrely, 10 times their players have hit shot tiers this season. So, if you're looking for that budget player, maybe Emmanuel Dennis back from suspension. Don't particularly recommend it.
Maybe not.
Leeds also into double figures. Now, teams that have conceded, which is probably more what you want to target, teams who've conceded shot tiers, Norwich City 15 times, Newcastle 14 times, Everton coming up again 12 times, which I think is really interesting to bear in mind, considering obviously Liverpool go to Everton on December the 1st, which is a sort of night which could be quite difficult for the captaincy. We'll get all the teams. Liverpool go to Everton, Chelsea go to Watford, and City go to Villa. Don't necessarily overlook Salah that night.
Yeah,
might actually be the message. I mean, the benefit of seeing the City team is always so good for Sky. So let's see how it lands then. But don't rule out, I'd say, going Mo Salah on December the 1st when they go to Everton.
No.
Because they're conceding plenty of shots as well. Leeds also in double figures for shot tiers conceded. Man City and Liverpool have only conceded shot tiers twice to opponents during the season. Tackle tiers is the most difficult one to obviously get a grasp on because of the unpredictable nature of it. There are a couple of teams that stand out. Newcastle's players have hit tackle tiers 16 times this season, and 17 times players playing against Newcastle have hit tackle tier this season. There's a few low ones, and Man City is certainly one of them. Only 5 Manchester City players have hit tackle tier during the course of the season.
I mean, they don't need to. They hold the ball 70%
there is
of the
part
time.
of that, obviously. Cancelo, I think, had the trifecta of the clean sweep at Old Trafford the other week, didn't he? Similarly, Liverpool only 7, Arsenal only 7. But then the likes of Chelsea, double figures, 13 times their players have hit tackle tiers. Tottenham's an interesting one. 19 times players have hit tackle tiers against them. The one that really stands out, and this is when your shit Friday night and Monday night games come around, 24 times players have hit tackle tiers against Crystal Palace. I didn't look into the numbers of times Wilfried Zaha has been dispossessed this season, but I guess he tries to take players on the outside a lot and people get tackles in against them. If you look at some of the players who've hit tackle tier against Palace this season, Azpilicueta, Alonso, Lucas Moura, Emerson, Timothy Castagne, Joel
All
Veltman,
right-sided.
Cucurella, Ait Nouri, Sergi Canos, wing back at Brentford, Matt Ritchie and Emil Kraft at Newcastle. It's a lot of wide players hitting tackle tiers against Crystal Palace. It might be a trend you want to watch out for when suddenly Brighton play Crystal Palace in January on that Friday night, and for some reason you're fucking sitting there with Joel Veltman. It's probably going to get... He might not get the pass tier, but he'll probably get the tackle tier for you. Finally, just to give some statistics on man of the matches. There are 2 teams, I believe, Serge, who's... in fact, no, I tell a lie. There's one team whose players have picked up Man of the Match award in 10 of their 11 games.
Liverpool?
It's Chelsea.
Okay.
Manchester City 8, Liverpool 7. There is one team who's had Man of the Matches 9 times in their 11 fixtures this season.
Ooh. Liverpool.
It's Crystal Palace.
9 out of 11, they've had the man of the match. Wow.
Well, Conor Gallagher's fucking most of it, hasn't he? He keeps picking them up. And there is a little trend in terms of that. Leeds have had a few more recently, but Leeds have only had man of the matches 4 times this season. I think Raphinha's had 3 of them. Yeah,
Leeds have struggled with injuries and not having their main man Bamford up top.
It's part of what makes Gallagher so interesting. You've got the prospect for shots, tackles and potential man of the match with him in just about any game at the moment. His ownership is massive. I feel in Sky at the moment we're in a real template position where we could look at the template. I don't even need to look at it and know that it's like Mendy, Diaz, Cancelo, Rudiger, Livramento, Gallagher, Raphinha, toss a coin between Damari Gray, Tielemans, Antonio, Salah and Kane. And that's the template of Sky Fantasy Football at the moment. And someone's going to be listening to this now and go, James, you've just named my team. Yeah, well, you're in a decent position. That's the template. What's going to potentially break this template is either A, injuries, or B, I think Manchester United.
In game week 16 or sooner rather than later?
Well, it depends when people want to go on, obviously, with Ronaldo and if they're going to or not. My intention is to do so. My intention is to go from Diaz to Ronaldo on the Thursday when United play Arsenal. I think it's the 2nd of December, I want to say. But I made the case last week to say, look, you possibly can live without it all the way till like sort of the Boxing Day fixtures and stuff. You can go Salah to Ronaldo. I think it's on the 27th of December or something. Is some are going to go with this hop-on, hop-off strategy where you miss Ronaldo against Brighton, you miss Salah against Aston Villa. But they need something like this to break it at the moment. Because I'm looking at me going, I'm not too far from the template and I'm going to buy another one and I'm behind everyone. But buying Cancelo is still the right thing for me to do at the moment. And I guess I am selling one of those template players in Antonio. Judging when to sell the template players is a real key, I think, over the next couple of months. So there's obviously a lot of people looking for Tielemans replacements at the moment. You haven't got, I haven't got.
No.
Where would you be thinking at the moment?
Smith Rowe.
It's the one that comes to mind for me as well.
If you don't own Conor Gallagher already, I'd probably go Smith Rowe first.
Oh, Gallagher and Raphinha first.
Yeah. But majority of people, so many people have them. But yeah, Smith Rowe's the one that's interesting.
Frees up some money, which might obviously change your plans in terms of looking at a Ronaldo or Bruno Fernandes or similar. Perhaps if you haven't got Cancelo, if you haven't got Harry Kane. That's my concern. Is that I'm just heading towards another template player, but I can't overlook what he's doing at the moment. I mean, even that to throw in Everton, look at their passing tier numbers,
non-existent.
Even for Cancelo's not a lock for the passing tiers in the way that say Diaz or Laporte/Stones are, but this week he probably absolutely is, and you're going to get the see the team to see if he's in it. So it probably leads on to captaincy the weekend. We might as well start with Sunday as we're talking about it. Who do you intend to go with?
Salah.
On Saturday you're going to go?
I'm just looking here in front of me. Yeah, Salah.
Salah Saturday. I'm going to do the same. I think the ownership's too big at the moment. There is one person not in the top 1,000 doesn't. By the way, who are like the 17 people in the top 1,000 who've ended up with Michael Force from Brentford? How's that happened?
There's 17 in the top 1,000.
Yeah, he's like a 6.6 forward. I don't know how that's happened. I mean, Mbeumo, he played the one game against Burnley, didn't he? And Mbeumo's come straight back in.
Yeah. It was never a long-term injury with with Mbeumo.
I mean, all
anyway.
you can do with that is sell him for like the likes of Livramento or Shimikas, I think, depending on your structure. Or consider Christian Norgard of Brentford 6.2, who remarkably does hit the odd shots here and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's not Sky, but it was the FPL account put out like who's had the most shots in the last some games, and Norgard made the top 5. I was like, what? Midfielders.
Yeah, I think he is like in the top 5 of the last 4 game weeks or something. He's always a target from their long throws, so he's always in and around the box and stuff.
Right.
He really is one to... I think if I was going to buy into Brentford now, which I think you would wait for the following week when they play Everton at home on the Sunday as an entry point, I'd just go Norgard. Someone DM'd me earlier in the week, said, what'd you think about him? I said he enables you the 10 best other players in the game.
Yeah.
That's it. Because he fills a midfielder spot, so you can then have Raphinha, Gallagher, and your best pick of what's affordable. That template team that I said, by the way, it only costs you 99.3.
Nice.
So it really is a team that someone will have out there. Sunday, what are you doing?
Well, I'll need to buy a player. So if I buy Kane, I will be captaining Kane. If I don't, my backup, I've only got Raphinha and Diaz playing on Sunday. I'm very comfortable with Diaz against Everton, especially what you mentioned about the tier points. Diaz is pretty much lock-in for a 5-pointer and could easily be a 10-pointer. So Diaz is my fallback should I not make any transfers, but I'm likely to buy Kane, and that means I'll captain Kane.
I'll be going Cancelo. I just think the potential for the mass hauling in that fixture is massive. I think passing tier is a lock. Shots-wise, we covered this on one of the FPL pods as well. He's joined with Salah for actual shots over the last 4 game weeks. An XG of 1.5 over that period, which is remarkable for a left-back. I regret not just taking the decision to get him in earlier and wishing when I'd gone with Diaz on overhaul, I'd have gone with Cancelo, because I think those who've done that, you've won out. Not only have you got the more points from it, obviously, we've also got the extra near 1 million in the bank that you've been playing with as well. Which part way I'm looking to get Cancelo in with Laporte/Stones and move Ruben Diaz on in the near future. I'm going to go Cancelo. I think the prospect of the mass haul is there. Whereas if you ask me, like, do I think Harry scores on Sunday? Yes. The prospect of a shot tier is always there against Leeds. But I think in this game, we lean back into the statistics so often when we make these fine, detailed calls, which I think a Cancelo versus Kane at the weekend is. And right now, statistically, there isn't anything in it to sustain backing Kane, I think, as a captain over Cancelo, which looks like, on paper, a locked 10 points. If you named one team at the moment to play at the Etihad, you'd say didn't fancy them to score. Everton would be right near the top of the list at the moment. So I think I'll be going Cancelo.
Yeah. Should we answer some of the questions that we've had in on the old twits, James?
We can. Just before we do,
tell me.
If you had Ronaldo Saturday?
Yeah, I'd captain him.
I don't think I would.
Only because the only reason not to would be the ownership issue, right? The thing is that we're in different positions. I'm 10k in the world, mate.
No, that's true.
So if I was in the top 2,000, 2,500, maybe even anything up to the top 4,000 or 5,000, I'd still stick with Salah. But because I'm 10k, I do think that I would go with Ronaldo if I had him.
Yeah, I don't think this would be the one I'd gamble with. No, there's weeks to come where you can take Salah on. I don't feel like Arsenal this weekend is one of them. Think back to Arsenal's last away game at Leicester as well. Harvey Barnes was actually the first player to hit tier 2 shots against Arsenal in that game. Barnes, Salah, are they comparable players? No. They play on different sides of the pitch, but in terms of the attacking threat, like Liverpool have a high volume of shots in the game. Mo Salah would be a part of it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's difficult to take on at the moment, personally. But I get that. If you're miles behind, it's close enough to say, yeah, okay. And of course, Ronaldo against Watford, it's a great fixture, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't say to anyone, don't do it. I'm saying that I wouldn't do it.
So yeah, let's look at some of these questions that we've had in on Twitter, and thank you for asking these questions on Twitter. You can find James there at Planet FPL Pod. He does each and every week ask for questions, and we're happy to answer them. The good thing with the Sky Pod is generally we get through all of them because of the volume. So some of these are quite straightforward. Dan, Cancelo or Kane for captaincy?
Just done that.
And we've just answered it. James is going Cancelo. From an ownership point of view, Cancelo's ownership, do you expect it to be higher than Kane's?
I think they'll both
or
go
will
up
be
this
very,
week.
very even?
I think Harry Kane's will take a massive jump.
Is there any argument to go with the higher owned player?
I'm not sure which one it'll be.
So it's close enough that go with Cancelo. Tier points are more likely.
I think so at the moment, yeah.
Darren, also close. Who do you reckon will be the most captained or owned player for the Arsenal versus Everton game when we get there? Smith Rowe, potentially? I'm still sitting there with Ben White. I've got no reason to.
Monday, 6th of December, isn't it? I think.
Aubameyang?
Do you know what? It might be Aubameyang, actually. I don't mind that as a shout. I think by the time that game comes around, I think Smith Rowe's ownership will be more than Gray's. I can see Smith Rowe slowly edging into that template, although his website, he's only actually had one big chance in the Premier League so far this season, which is quite low. But then so's his price, right? 7.5. And he's already become a bit of a darling with the commentators, I've noticed. So he's always liable to be in with a run-in for man of the match if Arsenal play well. And at the moment, Everton are not in a good way. Now, they might have some players back fit by the time that game comes around on Monday the 6th. But I suspect, because it's a Monday, yeah, I could see it'll probably be Aubameyang. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yep. Gary, is my cat playing? Meme at the ready, please. A real debacle.
I don't think anyone who's been there has been too badly off, bar obviously if you captained him against Watford, that's a sickener and you're dead difficult. Unlucky.
Real debacle. I can't play the game as I live, it probably lives overseas, but I tune in just to hear James make my head spin on transfer this and transfer that. I mean, yeah, the way James's head works and Excel and his spreadsheet is very good. I just have 3 letters for you, my friend. VPN. But that's for another day.
I really thought you was going to go down the VAR route. Because if he gets his VPN, we'll all be doing the square, won't we? The VAR, get him reviewed if he wins to 50k.
Yeah, don't worry about it. 10% is ours. Andrew Morton. Is it a good idea to have Son instead of Kane and Bowen to cover Antonio to save funds? I guess the question is, what are you doing with the additional money? Sky's a very different game to FPL. Because of the high ownership and captaincy coverage. It's not one of those where you really look for the differential. It's not sensible to always be looking for the differential unless you're really trying to make ground and bet.
I've spoken already about the selling template players at the right time. Now, I'm not saying Sunday necessarily is or isn't the right time for Antonio, and I certainly suspect that those who are thinking, well, they've got good fixtures again from December the 12th, I'll just hold him through, fine. Part of my looking strategy at the moment is that when I go back on December the 12th, or if I want to go back later, perhaps the Wednesday when they play Arsenal, then I may well be looking at Jared Bowen. Bowen's only got 1 point less than Antonio.
Yeah.
Right, so we're talking about cover, but he's matching him anyway. His underlying numbers are on the increase week by week, Jared Bowen. He is one of the rare midfielders in this game you look at and go, do you know what, there could be regular shot tiers in him. As Suj highlighted on one of our podcasts very recently, his minutes are going up. Yep. And what we mean by that is, I think he was the most subbed player in the Premier League last year. He was regularly coming off at 70 minutes. If you look at his numbers now, he's regularly playing 90 minutes. He's had returns very recently in games, late in games like the Villa away game, which perhaps this time last year he wouldn't have been on the pitch.
It's true.
So I think he's getting fitter. He's growing as a player. I would say if West Ham change system in the coming weeks, we discussed that it's possibly Ben Rama might be the one that miss out if West Ham decide to go a back 5 at, say, Manchester City or against Chelsea. When
Antonio does his hamstring, I think Bowen is the one that will be jumping up top, not anybody else. Well. So he kind of gives you that cover and safety should you don't want to cover that off. Yeah, no issue. You're not really saving a lot of money. What is he, 7.8, 7.9, something like that?
No, Bowen's 8.2.
8.2, so the same price as Antonio, basically.
But if I was buying, we've kind of overlooked Declan Rice a lot this season. I think we've said, no, we'd generally consider him now. But still, for me, I think it's jumped now from Ben Rama to Bowen. If and when I was buying one. Now, for myself personally, I'm not going to go back and look at that till West Ham have a fixture swing in December-ish. I think you can go without both at the moment. I think if you're considering selling Antonio, I do think Sunday is the right time.
Yeah. FPL Louis, can you play Sky with a I'm on holiday for a month.
You can, mate.
He's currently top 50. Is Mark?
No, you can't, mate.
He said, if you can, great. If you can't, it might ruin his season. So do you want his login details? He'll DM you the transfers to make and he'll split the 50k. I'll fucking do that for a share of the money. No problem at all.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yes, but there's going to be a disclaimer that you're going to need to sign. Do it with James because you know what happened with me.
We have to make this serious and say we're all joking here because if this fella goes on to win it, he's getting investigated.
Yeah,
and it won't
be
our fault.
No. Look, he's a UK resident. He's just going on holiday. You can't, Question is, if you're going...
Get your mum to log in.
If you're going on holiday for a month... Mark, do you even need the 50k? That's a long time to piss off for, isn't it?
It depends where you're holidaying, right?
Yeah, that's true. Bogner and all that. Mark, yeah, happily, we'll chat.
What's
Slide into James.
I've been to worse places than Bogner.
I've never been.
No?
Any good?
Nah, shit.
We have another question from Shadebi. Would I do Tielemans to Webster or Smith Rowe? Both allow future transfers. Webster or Smith Rowe, where would you go right now? I suppose it depends on your formation a little bit.
I'd have to go Smith Rowe at the moment because we don't factually know that Webster's coming back in the team.
No, that's very true.
It's the reality of where we're at. So we don't know if he's going to stay in it. You don't know from week to week if they're going to play a 4 or 3. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Webster's the second best centre back. So I would expect it, but I wouldn't be certain of it. I mean, as FPL Seagull, our Brighton correspondent, said the other week after the Newcastle game, enough with this Duffy experiment now. And I'm in agreement with him. But I think because of that, it would have to be Duffy. Smith Rowe, sorry. Brighton entry point, you're not looking for a while either. It probably is the December 12th game against Tottenham, same day. It's probably the entry point to come back. And in between, you've got a potential very good captaincy day for Smith Rowe against Everton on that Monday night. So Smith Rowe for me.
FPL Binary, can you explain how game week 16 works for first-timers like myself? Can I captain Aubameyang versus Newcastle on the Saturday? Yes. Sell him for Kane on the Sunday and captain him? Yes. Then do I need a captain for the Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday? Yes. A double game week with normal rules, I assume. Yes, exactly the same. There's just more match days than there is in a regular game week. So you can make transfers within it. Captain them, yeah.
The best advice I can give for the players who are playing for this season is get the whole double game week thing out of your head. So, yes, in terms of Sky's week running Friday to Thursday, yes, essentially it's a double game week. Everybody has 2 fixtures. But it's not a double game week like our traditional FPL where we'll have 10 teams have a double and 10 teams don't and there's real fixture gains. No, look. It's no different to the fixtures being at a weekend, just rather than Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they're Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
That is it. Just literally think of it that way is the easiest for your brain to process the situation. Just literally think of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as being Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yep.
That's it.
Tom White has got a question, James. What are your thoughts on getting Son as well as Kane? He has the money to move Antonio to Son on Sunday. And he already owns Kane. Have you been in any way or shape or form tempted by the double up?
So my second set, yeah, I want to do it. I just can't.
Right.
Can't get there. The only way I could see it being viability for me is if Ruben Diaz is not in the Manchester City team. But I don't even think I wouldn't have the money because of future transfers. I still wouldn't have the money to do it because I want to say Son's 10.8. And Diaz is nearer the 10.5 range. So I think that 0.3 would kill me further down the line, so I can't do it. My dead team, which isn't too far behind my first team, the idea of it is, or second team, is that it's a dead team. But I might, for the 4 game weeks, go in on the double up of Kane and Son in that. I can do it in that team, and I might do it as a little differentiator for that team, because it's not that far behind my first team now.
Mm-hmm. Luke wants to know, with Ollie Skip suspended and Højbjerg potentially out with a knee injury, is Raphinha the captain that we're all sleeping on for Sunday? Any temptation with that?
No, but I don't think it's necessary, personally.
I mean, if you didn't own a Spurs... I mean, it's difficult because City have got Everton,
I
right?
think
So
because of Kane... and the fact you'll get to see the City team and you've got the likes of Cancelo and Diaz so well owned, I think you're hard-pressed to captain Raphinha over them players. Now, can Raphinha outscore them? Yes, of course. what I would say is, despite Raphinha's top 1k ownership being in around about the 80% point, not many are going to go there. You're still going to be ever so slightly winning if he does do well. So it's not necessary either, because I don't think not many are going to go down that way. Realistically, Man City are at home to Everton with locked-on potential. Kane's obviously had a mad week for England, but Tottenham are nowhere near as good as England. Not many are going to go Raphinha. I do think you can do some damage in the game. And it's worth saying as well, in terms of very short-term 3-for-1s, if you do actually want to buy players on Sunday, Leeds is the obvious for a chain move. So Leeds have obviously got Tottenham on Sunday. Then the following Saturday, they've got Brighton away, and then they've got Crystal Palace at home on the Tuesday in that midweek set of fixtures. So you really could get 3-for-1, possible captaincy on the Palace game. So those who aren't buying Raphinha, I mean, this is last time. And the other thing with that is you could look at the Palace fixture as, again, talking about selling players at the right time. After Palace at home, they play Brentford at home, which doesn't look the ideal time to sell. But it's only really a sell after Brighton if you're going for Everton Arsenal on the Monday night, which I suspect most will probably already have some coverage in there. Therefore, gambling on him blanking against Brentford and selling after they play Palace could pay, because afterwards it's Chelsea away, City away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away.
Yeah.
There's an argument when someone is that highly owned to come off. And it'd be interesting to see what happens with Raphinha the deeper we get into December.
FPL Hambo wants to know if there's a good argument for skipping Spurs for the good run of fixtures. And he also says maybe should answer this, but I can't see why you would in this game. I just can't see why you would want to try and be cute and differential about it. There's every argument. Spurs can be garbage on their day, but I don't see why you
on
would
most days.
Yeah,
but I think we're in agreement that Tottenham aren't going to be garbage for long in terms of what we don't know is if it's going to equate to being good for fantasy football. But Antonio Conte is going to get a turn out of that team in some form. Whether that's going to restore Kane to being great fantasy football asset, I'm not sure. I think Kane will be bought by more than what people think this weekend because of what he's done with England.
Our friend Ian Parrin wants to know, what do you make of the hugely increased transfers remaining counts in the upper echelons of SkyFF this year compared to last year? And he's right. Like, the number of transfers left in the top 1,000 and 5,000 and what have you is way more than it was last year. I guess it means, obviously, that a lot of the highly owned players have been doing well and good managers have been doing well, whereas last year it wasn't quite the case, although we had to deal with so much more in terms of match days and hopping on and off and jumping on and around. So, I guess it just means it's going to be harder, but that's what you want, right?
I think underperformance of forwards, bar Mo Salah, is a big reason because people do love to jump based on form. And other than really Vardy, who I think most people probably haven't had during the season, and obviously Antonio, budget-wise, has been worth having. Most people would have been best off just going 5-3-2 Salah Antonio so far, right? And not worrying about Ronaldo, Kane, etc. And I mean, what have people missed by not having Ronaldo and Kane? Not masses. December's probably going to change that game a little bit. In terms of the transfer counts, I think there's a couple of key reasons why that's changed. One, despite how it may feel sometimes, I don't think we've had the injury issues that we had last season.
Agree. Yeah, definitely not.
With the coming back in September, the close proximity of the games, COVID, yada, yada,
COVID
yada.
was a big part, yeah.
So we haven't had those issues. I feel like these fixtures coming up in a couple of weeks is the first set of midweek fixtures as well, isn't it?
It's true.
We had a lot more crammed in last season, therefore more rotation stuff as well, some more knee-jerk reaction stuff. It's not been as bad on that front. But I think more importantly, it's information overload. There are so many good content creators out there now. So the average person is very well informed, whether they're just listening to us or
more players,
Scout or Hub or Season Keepers or Man On or Dan Cox or whatever, right? Nearly everybody's got some form of understanding of what's going on, or they're an experienced player who doesn't need the content necessarily, right? And just knows how to play the game anyway. I said in pre-season, I thought this was the last season I could win it. Which I don't mean to put anybody off, but it's going to get harder again next year.
Yep.
We spoke last year about the idea of kind of what top 200 finish in Sky would become like the top 1,000 in the next few years and stuff.
Agree, yeah.
The game's going to get more and more difficult because there's more good players playing it. And when you get stuck in a place like now, where it's real template, best thing to do is probably stay within it for a lot of your decisions. Then you need to be brave in terms of your timing of when to move off it, such as example being if you want to Antonio this Sunday to Raphinha, City or Tottenham. Don't buy an Everton player on Sunday.
Yeah. Pete wants to know when you are planning on bringing in a Manchester United asset for their good run of fixtures and single game days. Is Ronaldo the only option? I think he's going to be the main option. You mentioned the 27th, which is when they play Arsenal, right?
No, I'm going in the second when they play Arsenal.
All right,
so
sorry, yeah.
My plan is
Thursday
to go
night.
Diaz to Ronaldo on the second. I will then at that point have Ronaldo, Kane and Salah together, run that through for December. My intention in the plan at the moment is to go Salah to Bruno Fernandes on December the 27th to give me the backup option, because I know Ronaldo is not playing all three of them single game days. I'm fairly certain of it because they're too close together. And I would look at adding a defensive one as well. I think over that period, I think Harry Maguire might be quite interesting, especially if they had a new manager. The fixtures dictate that there could be some passing tiers and clean sheets in there, whatever you think of them at the moment. And Maguire plays every game if he's fit, doesn't he? Like, he won't get rotated if he's fit. So, and you have to consider that over a Christmas period to run into where you think the overhaul's obviously going to be end of January. So I might end up with 3, but the plan at the moment is to end up with Ronaldo and Bruno.
Money Mace wants to know if it's worth going from Jose Sarr to Ederson on Sunday. Worth it?
No.
Okay.
No. I kind of highlighted in terms Ederson's had 1 saved here. So I get the appeal of Ederson because
set and forget mindset, isn't it?
It's the minutes and stuff. But actually, I think obviously Mendy is obviously cheaper and a better option. I actually would probably prefer Alisson as an option over City as well, because I think the City defensive options in Cancelo and stuff, like if you're doing it for City coverage defensively, no. If you're looking to bump up your effective ownership of City defensive players, I don't mind it. But I think in terms of jumping off Jose Sarr, we'd highlighted probably they've got West Ham at home, Norwich away, Burnley at home. And your jump-off points, if you had Jose Sarr, one I'd recommend, and I'm sure we spoke about it last week, was consider David De Gea from Thursday the 2nd. So that's the end of Wolves' run. And Ramsdale was the possible alternative. At the moment, the whole game basically owns Edouard Mendy except me and you, sir. Which is a bit of a problem. There's next to, I think Sarr's the second most. He's got about 12% ownership or so. But I would say, do you want to jump off Sarr this Saturday when his next 2 fixtures afterwards are Norwich and Burnley? No, I think ideally you'd go after the Burnley game, or if you don't like the choices available that night, which would include Hugo Lloris, or jumping down to Alvaro Fernandez at 6 million on that Thursday, you've got more choice if you go after the Norwich game. You've got 10 teams to choose from on that Sunday. So no, I would not go Sarr to Ederson.
No. We have last question, James, from Kermit the Winger, and it's not really Sky related, but I guess it is in terms of tiering points. How can we expect the teams playing Spurs in the next 4 to set up? Will they sit back and counter, or will they match up with 3 at the back? I guess it's very different teams you're playing in all of those formations.
No. So Leeds will play the way Leeds play. And that's the
I
end
can't
of
see
it.
them changing. They'll just bomb at you.
Depending on fitness, there's a slight alteration in them at the moment if Adam Forshaw plays, because he's a little bit more of a sitting midfield player, so plays a little bit more alongside Calvin Phillips, which makes him a little bit more interesting defensively, but I'm not sure he'll stay in that team. Otherwise, you know what you get with Leeds. 100 mile an hour, irrespective of who's playing and stuff, they'll go for it.
You know what you get with Burnley? I've never seen them change formation.
Exactly the same. It's 4-4-2, and as long as they haven't got any injuries, it will be the same 11 that started against Chelsea that will start this weekend. That's very straightforward. Brentford won't change.
Brentford we've seen variations of, but when they come up against teams, better footballing teams than them, they go for it.
It's the back three, and they'll come and shithouse Tottenham and
so I think we know what we can expect with them.
Norwich, we can't predict.
No, new manager in Dean Smith, so anything and everything's on the table with Norwich. So we'll have to wait and see. So
I don't think mass changes from them teams. I think particularly Sudge is right. Leeds, Burnley, what you see is what you get generally anyway.
There we go. And that's the questions that we've had in on old Twitter, James. So,
lovely jubbly.
Indeed. If you are interested in becoming a better Sky player and joining our Slack community of Sky players.
No.
A more informed Sky player.
You can go that route.
Yeah. There is a Slack channel that we have, Sky Fantasy Football, where there's plenty of really good managers discussing ideas, sharing transfers. There's the spreadsheet that James produces that can help people with looking at fixtures and hop on, hop off points, entry, exits, 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, all that kind of stuff. Then you may want to consider having a look at patreon.com/Planet FPL. And of course, we're happy to help with anything to do with
highly likely because of the proximity of fixtures that we'll probably have some more Sky podcasts in December as well.
We do additional content for our patrons on a daily basis, and once a month at least we do a little extra on Sky, especially when you get to times like Overhaul and that kind of thing as well. Other than that, wherever you are listening to the pod, hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, like it, do whatever you like, and leave us a comment or a review should you wish. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, we won't be back tomorrow. You'll be back tomorrow with...
Cash to Correspondents, Watford versus Manchester United with Stephen Toomey and Gary Robinson.
Fantastic. And Stephen, for those that don't know, our Watford correspondent is in California, and it's always a delight to hear what he has to say.
Very unusually, I haven't recorded it yet, so I can't give you any hints.
But
I guess we'll talk about Ronaldo, fantasy football prospect, captaincy, Sky and FPL, I guess.
Indeed. And on Friday, James will be live streaming and Ask James. So if you've got any other questions, make sure you following him on Twitter because you'll get told when he goes live. I
love having Sky questions on that podcast. I'm not joking either because it's just
mixes up the monotony for
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the pod, and we'll be back soon. Stay safe, my friends. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Hope your hours are green this week. Be nice to each other, and cue music, please, man child.